Imagine coming home to your family's century-old cabin, only to find a glaring red eviction notice slapped on the door like you're some deadbeat renter. Now picture the HOA president's triumphant smirk from across the street, thinking she's just scored a win for community standards, oblivious that she's about to unleash a storm that exposes her as the real squatter on borrowed power. Daniel Thompson had always been the quiet type in Willow Lake Estates. That picture-perfect suburb in upstate New York where every lawn was mowed to military precision and mailboxes matched like soldiers on parade. At 42, he was a freelance graphic designer who preferred sketching by the water's edge over attending block parties. His cabin, perched on the lake's north shore, was a relic from the 1920s, creaky floors, a stone fireplace that smoked on rainy days, and walls lined with faded photos of his great-grandparents who homesteaded the land. It wasn't flashy, but it was his sanctuary, inherited along with the entire lake in the sprawling gravel parking lot that served as the neighborhood's gateway to weekend bliss. The air in Willow Lake was thick with unspoken rules: no pink flamingos, no unmowed grass past 2 inches, and heaven forbid your recycling bin linger curbside after 8 a.m. Daniel had heard the whispers about him, the recluse who didn't join the HOA's mandatory socials, the guy whose rustic home lowered property values. He shrugged it off, sipping his morning joe on the porch while watching ducks skim the water. But inside, he noted every sidelong glance, every exaggerated sigh from nosy walkers. Patience was his weapon. He'd learned it from his late father, a surveyor who taught him that land disputes weren't won with shouts but with maps and deeds tucked away like aces in a poker game. The trouble brewed slowly, like coffee percolating too long. Melissa Cartwright, the HOA president, was the epitome of suburban tyranny wrapped in a polite smile. In her mid-50s, with a bleach blonde bob that never frizzed and outfits straight from a country club catalog, she ruled with a velvet glove over an iron fist. "It's all about maintaining our standards," she'd coo at meetings, her voice dripping with faux concern while fining folks for minor infractions. Behind closed doors, neighbors grumbled about her emergency assessments that funded mysterious improvements, but few dared challenge her. Melissa feared nothing more than losing her throne. Her position gave her purpose, perks, and a petty power high. One crisp autumn morning, Daniel stepped out to fetch his newspaper and froze. Taped to his door was the eviction notice, screaming in bold caps: violation of community covenants, immediate vacation required. His heart thudded, but he didn't panic. Instead, he scanned the fine print: unauthorized structure, aesthetic noncompliance, threat to neighborhood harmony. Harmony, he muttered with a wry chuckle, crumpling the edge. Across the road, Melissa lingered by her SUV, pretending to check her phone but clearly savoring the scene. A couple of dog walkers slowed, ears perked. "Morning, Daniel," she called over, her tone saccharine. "I trust you've seen the notice. We can't have eyesores dragging us down." Daniel met her gaze steadily. "Eyesore? This cabin predates your McMansions, Melissa. Built in 28. Before your bylaws were a twinkle in some developer's eye." She adjusted her sunglasses, lips curling into that practiced smile. "Rules evolve, dear. Progress demands it. You'll have 30 days, plenty of time to pack up your memorabilia." A neighbor chuckled nervously, but Daniel just nodded, filing away her condescension like evidence. Inside, he pulled out the old safe, his father's legacy, the deed bundle. Yellowed but ironclad. Whispers turned to outright rumors overnight. At the local coffee shop, Daniel overheard snippets: "Heard the HOA's finally cleaning house, about time that shack goes." "Yeah. But isn't he family legacy or something?" He bit his tongue, ordering his usual black brew without a word. Melissa ramped up the pressure, sending daily violation notices via certified mail. Improper fencing, his was split rail. Vintage. Excessive wildlife attraction, birds at his feeder. Even unauthorized water usage from the lake he owned. Each one was more absurd than the last. Laced with her moralizing notes, for the greater good of our community. Daniel documented everything: photos, timestamps, cross-references to HOA docs he'd quietly requested. He wasn't yelling, he was building a fortress. Neighbors started avoiding him. But a few cracked. Old Mr. Jenkins, a retired mechanic, sidled up during a walk. "She's got it out for you, son. Find me $150 for my truck's oil spot," said it tainted the aesthetic. Daniel smirked. Aesthetic? Her idea of beauty is charging folks for breathing. Melissa's board meetings became spectacles. Her preaching about unity while eyeing Daniel's property like a prize. One evening, she cornered him at the mailbox. "Accept it, Daniel. Your little hut doesn't fit our vision. We're modernizing, dock expansions, event fees. You could sell and join us properly." Her eyes gleamed with that mix of greed and righteousness. "Sell my heritage? Pass. But tell me, how do you fund those expansions on HOA dues alone?" She bristled, voice sharpening. "That's board business." Questioning it shows disloyalty. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Disloyalty? Or curiosity about where the money vanishes? She stormed off. But he'd planted the seed. Soon, anonymous tips trickled in: duplicate bills, phantom contractors. Melissa's fear of exposure made her sloppy. She started anonymous online posts smearing Daniel as a hoarder hazard, but IP traces, he had tech-savvy friends, led back to her. The neighborhood simmered. Laughs stifled behind hands at her increasingly ridiculous edicts. Like banning non-neutral bird feeders. Tensions boiled over when Melissa escalated to sabotage. One night, Daniel found his dock spray-painted with "comply or leave," her handwriting barely disguised. She filed false reports, environmental hazards, claiming his cabin polluted the lake. Health code violations, septic leaks that inspectors laughed off. "This is harassment," he told the county official who showed up. Deed in hand. The man nodded. "HOAs overstep sometimes, yours seems personal." Daniel's patience paid off, he allied with skeptics. Sarah and Gwen, a sharp accountant neighbor, pored over public HOA filings. "Look, $5K for lake maintenance to a company that doesn't exist. And her new spa membership matches the amount." Frank Rivera, a burly ex-cop, shared meeting notes. She vetoed questions about budgets. Called them divisive. The trio met secretly at Daniel's cabin. Piecing together the scam, Melissa skimmed dues for personal luxuries. Using the lake, which she didn't own, as leverage for extra fees. "She's billing picnics on my property," Daniel said. Voice low but edged with dark amusement. Irony, charging for access she trespasses to enforce. Melissa sensed the shift, her emergency patrols increased. Clipboard waving drive-bys where she'd bark at kids for unauthorized play near restricted water. At one confrontation by the parking lot, she sneered at Daniel, "Your deed's outdated, adverse possession applies after years of use." He laughed outright. "Adverse? You've been squatting on my land, paying nothing. That's not possession, that's freeloading." Neighbors overheard, stifling giggles at her flush denial. "This community's mine to protect," she huffed. "Protect? Or pocket?" Sarah quipped from afar. Melissa's mask slipped, her moral lectures devolved into rants. Alienating even loyalists. Daniel's binder swelled, forged docs. Witness statements. IRS tips he'd anonymously filed. The air crackled with impending explosion. Her lopsided rules now punchlines at barbecues. The climax hit at the annual HOA assembly in the stuffy community center. Fluorescent lights buzzing like angry bees. Melissa, sensing mutiny, stacked the agenda with attacks on Daniel. This holdout threatens our solvency. Eviction vote tonight. The room packed with 200 residents. Murmurs rising as she pounded the gavel. Order! We've tolerated his noncompliance long enough. Fines unpaid. Structures unsafe. Motion to enforce removal. Her voice quivered with feigned outrage. But sweat beaded on her forehead. Daniel stood. Calm as the lake at dawn. Binder underarm. Before votes. Let's clarify jurisdiction. He unfolded the deed on the projector, maps glowing, outlining his ownership of the lake. Shores. And lot. Gasps echoed. Your community assets? Mine since 1925. No easement granted. Melissa spluttered. Irrelevant. We've used it. Possession. Daniel flipped slides. Tax receipts. Surveys. No adverse claim holds. I've paid. You've poached. Then the hammer. Sarah presented ledgers. Dues siphoned. $20,000 to ghost vendors matching your vacations. Frank added affidavits. Witnesses to threats. Fake fines. The crowd erupted, shouts of thief, and resign. Melissa slammed the podium. Face twisted in fury. Lies. Insubordination. But doors swung open, county auditors and FBI agents. Badges flashing. Melissa Cartwright. You're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and forgery. Handcuffs clicked as she wailed. This is sabotage. I'm the victim. Phones recorded her undignified exit. Neighbors cheering with bitter relief. Daniel watched silently. The room's energy shifting from oppression to liberation. In that bungalow, her empire crumbled. Exposed as the petty scam it was. In the aftermath, Willow Lake breathed freer. The HOA dissolved by unanimous vote. Its funds audited and refunded. Neighbors rebuilt organically, volunteer cleanups. Shared picnics without fees. Daniel formalized fair access, simple signs, respect the land. Enjoy freely. No more clipboards, trust replaced tyranny. He repaired his dock with help from former foes. Laughs echoing over water once weaponized. Melissa's trial made local news, guilty on all counts. Her moral facade stripped to reveal a grifter fearing irrelevance. Daniel reflected on his porch. Deed safe. Realizing power's fragility when built on bluster. His patience had turned whispers to roars. Mia her downfall with every absurd rule she enforced. The lake shimmered. Eternal. A reminder that true ownership isn't domination but guardianship. Yet, calls trickled in from nearby suburbs, similar scams. Desperate voices. Daniel sighed. Knowing the fight wasn't singular. But here's the question that lingers, in a world of rigid rules and hidden hustles. Was Melissa the real villain? Or just a product of a system that rewards control freaks over community caretakers?